Welcome to the Pressure Test. I'm Kamina Fullwood and I'm here with Paul Lyons. And today we're talking about nobody knows how to rest anymore. Now, this could be yet another fiery debate. Who knows? Let's find out. So, the solution that the world keeps offering is more techniques, better sleep hygiene, longer meditations, digital detoxes, and all of which are missing the point completely, because rest isn't a behavior, it's a state. And you can't technique your way into a state your nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to enter. So, what's your go-to for switching off after a big week, Paul?
Do I need to switch off after a big week?
I don't know. How do you feel about that statement?
How do I define a big week? It depends. If I'm going on holiday, I'll take 3 days to switch off. But then I generally switch off after that 3 days. But there's a bit of a period between being on and being off. But I'm not sure actually that rest is the opposite of work anymore. It used to be in the old days that you take your 4 weeks holiday every year, and you look to rest and you try and regenerate at weekends and what have you. But I don't know that we do that anymore. I think modern work's just blurred, so that rest is actually just a lower level of productivity. You're still working. I'm still lying on the sofa, but I might be glancing at my emails every once in a while I'm watching the footy. So, and I don't think that I'm unusual in that. So how do I rest? Well, I'm not sure I do rest. I'm not sure most people rest anymore. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that modern work's blurred, so that we're just on light mode when we're resting, not on no work mode.
Do you know what? I think we're in agreement on this one. Boom.
What?
Stop it. But I might take it a little bit further.
Right.
I think productivity is the only addiction that gets you a promotion. And that is part of what's going on.
Yeah, I think there's a big part of that. I mean, people, you stay busy, you stay productive because you want to keep your job, you want to chase a bonus, you want to get a promotion. Well, it's all part of it. So I don't disagree.
So what do you do to get yourself, because I call it more a state rather than rest. It's a state of, being regulated just naturally. So what is, so it's because I think, the body can be horizontal, but the system can still be running threat. And it's that threat that keeps people going, because, they can go on holidays and they come back just as exhausted as when they left. And, and it's also, like you said, people are, our phones are making us more engaged in work than ever because it's accessible. It's like they're on holidays, but they're still looking at their emails, and they're encouraged to do that as well. They're like, oh yeah, have a good rest, but don't forget to just stay across this little thing.
I don't think employers need to encourage.
No, you're right, actually.
Actually, I don't think work's a bad thing.
I'm passionate about it, but it's you need balance in your life. I'm talking about balance. If we're always looking at work, then where's the balance in connection with people, and the balance in creativity, and the balance in exercise, and the balance in all of those things?
So balance in relationships. You can have relationships with people that you work with in terms of clients, in terms of suppliers, in terms of stakeholders. It doesn't need to be treated as work or outside work. You can get on with people. Is kind of what I'm saying. Exercise. Yep, most of us would hopefully get some exercise. But I don't see work as a bad thing. But I can see that too much work and too much focus could be a bad thing. But I know when you asked the question about when I go on holiday, I do find it difficult to get off the drug, and the drug being technology and what's happening. And I feel if I'm missing out, if I'm not staying tuned into what's happening in the work front, and I don't think I'm alone in that. So I think it's quite complex. I think work has bled into our private lives through technology, and we've been complicit in that as individuals because we're hooked on the technology, and we're hooked on what knowing's in the next email we receive. Um, whether we're lying on the sofa, whether we're at the footy, whether we're in a restaurant, whether we're walking the beach, we can always access the technology. So I think the challenge is um, that we don't know how to switch off. But I've got a question for you as well.
Hmm.
Is that just us in Australia?
I think it's a worldwide thing. I think it's actually we are everyone all over the world is trained that productivity is what we need to do. But I'm going to throw a little bombshell in there because, that's what I like to do. I actually think it's become productivity has become a socially acceptable way to avoid yourself. And now it might not even be in the workplace. It might be, I know lots of mothers who are stay-at-home mothers, and they're very, very busy people too.
Of course they
Um,
are.
and I think what nobody is calling it is what it is avoidance because they don't because it's starting to look like a virtue. I'm so busy, I have this going on and this going on, and people are getting rewarded for it, promoted for it, you get LinkedIn likes for it, but it's actually avoidance of really taking a look at yourself. And what's really interesting though, when we do that in that silence without all of that productivity to distract you, what comes up? It's all the questions that they haven't answered. And that creates some kind of grief or angst, and it might see some relationships aren't working or a life that isn't quite fitting, and it's confronting to look at those things, and I think that's part of the productivity trap.
So am I hearing this right? So what you're saying is we're staying busy, also known as productive, but the two are different. But let's just say that we're staying productive to to avoid some deep self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Do you not feel that as executives, because we're talking about executives, we need self-awareness to be productive, or to be productive. You can't progress in a world without being self-aware and understanding who
No,
you
I
are.
think you're generalizing here. I think you're saying that I think you're saying that I'm saying these people have no self-awareness. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying deeper, going deeper. I'm like saying, yeah, they have some idea of what's going on, but they're so busy they really can't see the depths of it. They can't really see the depths of whatever is going on in their life until it slaps them in the face. It's like, what if you didn't have to get to that point where an issue slapped you in the face? What if you could actually just see it as it came up and navigate it in a much more gentle way, just a slight tweak rather than a giant tweak? Because, most people don't really reflect on their lives at Christmas or at the end of the year and on holidays. They don't do tiny little tweaks here and there. So life is much more
Yeah.
manageable because they don't give themselves space to just be still. I'm not saying to meditate or anything like that, just to be still, because it's really just
You've just described the mental toughness framework. That's what we do. It is that you've got the mindset and the awareness to understand situations that arise, and you want to make better decisions. So you understand those situations before they arise, and then you in a certain way to ensure that you get the right outcome. So it's not. I don't see that's a controversial thing, because we all do that every day if we're in the driver's seat. We're making what how many thousands of decisions would we make every day? And most of the time, hopefully, we're anticipating those situations and what decisions we have to make. I think that's a mindset aspect more than anything else.
well, I think it's a stillness. Actually, it's the stillness that gives us the space to actually make these micro changes in your life without because it's the stillness where we can get a broader perspective. If we're so busy, I might see this or I might see that or I might see that, but will I see everything? It's very unlikely. And I think that's the stillness that's required in order to see the full picture, not just snippets.
So that's being calm and composed and less emotions driven, and being able to see situations logically. So I would accept that, Amina,
Great.
but
Look at us. We're agreeing. I love us today.
we're agreeing, but from different corners, I think.
Yeah.
I, I still don't think that's I don't think we're addressing the rest people don't know how to rest anymore. I think we're always on, which is I think the point that we kind of talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily think that you have to rework yourself totally. I think there are some micro adjustments you have to make, but you can make those through mindset, not necessarily reworking your nervous system. But that's really what I'm keen to find out.
But the nervous system is what sits under the mind. So if you neutralize that, then you don't have to do constant mindset shifts.
So
It's
what's
also,
neutralizing it from?
beg your pardon, sir?
When you say you neutralize it, just talk me through that.
The survival stresses. So all of those survival stresses that are attached to certain potentially past events that have happened or future anxieties, that's a bit putrid. And so it's all of those that are keeping you hyper vigilant. So really, I find sometimes these mindfulness techniques is just actually hypervigilance in disguise, because what's going on is people are watching their thoughts, monitoring their breath, trying to get things right or judge. And then what they end up doing is this judging whether they're doing that right. And that's not rest. That's just quieter self surveillance. So your body, if you're not getting the full rest you need, your body's going to catch up in your body. So I'm talking about, what are these people like in 5 years? They might be able to do all of this hyper productivity now, but in 5 years,
Hmm.
I can tell you their body's going to be wearing all of that hyper productivity.
So no, I agree. So, but what do they do now that's different? While I'm lying on the sofa watching the footy, occasionally reading my emails, what do I got to do that's different than
Well,
I'm doing now?
I think that's a really good question. And I think let's get into it. So, like we know is that we've got this concrete push to get rewarded. And so that's part of why people are, apart from technology being fully accessible, people want to get rewarded, want to be validated. And so it's like, I did this or I did that. And we get that reward feedback. And that keeps people on that productivity loop. So what if we stop encouraging people to answer the emails at 11 p.m. and start taking real recovery, creating a safe environment for people? Because at the moment, people are like, well, I've got to do this thing, and I've got to, whatever KPIs people have or whatever. And it's like, that's creating this environment where people don't feel safe, where they feel like they have to be more and more productive. So, and that urgency, like there's constant urgency. This has to get done and this has to get done. And it's like, but does it really? You know?
No, I agree. I agree with that. So there's a responsibility for organisations, and there's a responsibility for the individual. So I don't think it's all one or the other. For the question about, is it just us in Australia, it is really related to, I think it's France, where they have this. It's stipulated in law, isn't it, that employers can't be sending emails over a weekend. I may have that wrong, but
I love that. I hope that's true.
I think I'm pretty sure it is. And certainly it seems, if you look at the happiness indexes or indices it seems that the Scandinavian countries are always near the top of the happiness index, which you would probably think is related to, having a psychologically safe workplace, i.e., not being.
It has to, because if you look at those places, they're really dark and cold. So they've got to be doing something right if they're happy in that kind of environment.
So, what are we doing wrong that those countries are doing right, or are they doing something different that we can emulate from an organizational point of view? Um, because I don't. It's not just the organization, but I think we as individuals we're complicit in what's happening because we're addicted to the technology. Personally, I'm addicted to the technology, so I am going to be looking at my emails while I'm on the sofa watching the footy, just to give you that example. So how that's beholden on me to stop doing that. But the reward for me to do that now, as opposed to what might happen to me in 5 years down the road, it's greater. I know there's been lots of research on that. So how do we change that?
Well, it's about creating a safe environment. It's like, what does safety truly mean? Not just what little tiny things here or there, actually really looking at what that safe environment feels like, right? And it's giving someone space to, I just need some time to myself. I can't keep pushing. It's really listening to yourself. It's like I'm pushing too hard, and I can feel like, and paying attention to that, because if you don't, that leads to burnout.
Yeah.
And so it's giving someone going, oh, but oh yeah, I have some space, but can you just do this first? No, what if that, I mean, obviously there is circumstances, it can't be a blanket thing, but it's really just paying attention to what a safe work environment feels like. And if we put that word safe in there, I think that really changes how you would answer that question. If rather than just going, I want a happy work environment, what does a safe one feel like? Emotionally, one that I feel really comfortable in every aspect. And I think if we start asking that question and start measuring recovery time rather than performance, if we start just looking at it in a different way, I think that's going to start giving the answers that we're looking for.
Okay. So if we look at the organization side first, is that then beholden on our leadership, on our shareholders, on our governance to make changes? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So that change's got to start somewhere. So where does it start?
Well, of
At
course
whose
it has
door
to
is
start
this?
there, because it trickles down, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think what we're saying is it's forced down rather than trickling down.
Sure.
So it's got to start somewhere. So I'm just trying to understand: is that some kind of government legislation, which I think it is in France, but we should find that out, or uh, or is that some sort of prevailing feeling from society that we need to change this in some way? Is there some sort of silent rebellion against this? But
I
it's
love
got
all of these questions so much, and I think it's all of the above. I think, God, wouldn't it be great if we did have a government legislation over it? Like, why don't you and I push for that? Let's go. No texting about work on a weekend.
When did you send me that text? Was that on no? So, well, it's got to start somewhere, and also on the individual side, I think we're complicit. I'm definitely complicit. So I think one of the challenges is that um, high performers generally love measurements and they love achieving, and so they do that by always being on, always getting something back in return, always feeling uh, that they're being productive, even when they're supposed to be resting. So I think a lot of executives are complicit in feeling productive, feeling busy, wanting to feel that because and I think this is what you alluded to, it kind of fills a gap. That's the way they're wired. So they don't know how to relax. Now, good or bad, but that's the situation.
And if we look at it from because I keep saying, if we look at it from a different perspective, because it's like we can't just keep going down the same perspective and just making tiny changes. It's just people are just trying so hard and trying and they keep failing, which creates a perpetual cycle of judgment. But what if we, because I think we've colonized an achievement framework. It's about, I've got to achieve this and I've got to achieve that. And don't get me wrong, I know that, businesses need to make money and do certain things. Obviously, I get that. But it's so focused on that if we just rebranded it as looking at recovery or optimizing downtime, then you can have that rest without the performance metric attached to it. And we look at the recovery metrics and those kinds of things, then we're going to have, a workplace that feels safe and achieves all of the things, because everyone will be clearer. Because when your mind is clearer, you can actually get work done quicker. I remember there was one person I worked with once who was highly stressed and was running a business. And I worked with her and she worked, say, I think 9 or 10 hours a day. And then I worked with her and she was getting the exact same amount of work done, but in like 4 or 5 hours, because her mind was clearer, because her nervous system was not in threat. So we can actually be just as productive with a nervous system that doesn't feel threatened anymore.
So how did you make that change?
Using the programs that I do, like the Sovereign Self system, which is working on the survival states of the nervous system and each of those core survival issues, and neutralizing those in a very specific way.
So then how does the body know when not to use those survival systems and to use them? So if you negate the ability to respond to everything, then you're in trouble when you need it. So
I can see where you're coming, and I can understand why that might be a concern, but
well,
it's not saying that the survival mechanisms aren't switched off for when you really are in a real survival situation, like like someone's coming to literally harm you in some way. It's like,
yeah.
yes, your survival state kicks on. Or if you're really cold, your hairs on your arm stand up to create a little layer around you to create warmth. All of that still works, but the real ones work for the real situations. I'm talking, we have a lot of survival stresses that we're attached to that are false, that are based on past issues that may be controlling us. We're still attached to those survival issues that aren't real. And so I'm talking about the real ones just have a chance to do their job. Your body has a chance to function properly. So the real things come through and show themselves, not all these false ones.
So forgive my ignorance, because I'm not too bright on certain things. So what we're not with the work that you do on the nervous system, you're not stopping the high spike adrenaline, fight or flight. What you're working on is what I call the slow burn cortisol kind of
Well,
challenge.
no, it is the fight or flight. It's getting people out of fight or flight. It's so they're not trying to escape situations that aren't like, why do I need to escape a situation at work where a communication, like people are like, I don't want to do that. It feels really confronting for me, for example, right? It's
Yeah.
like, so they try and escape that, or they might fight in that situation or whatever. It's like, no, it's like I can go and deal with that, and I can deal with it in a responsible, thoughtful, compassionate way, and it doesn't feel a threat to me. So it is it is removing the fight or flight from people.
So let's say the person's got all of that in the office. How does your nervous system then 10 seconds later realize that somebody's got a knife and they're walking towards you with a...
Well, it alerts you to it and says, get the hell out of there. Paul, come on. What are you doing, Paul? There's a knife right there.
Right.
It says it responds cleanly without any murkiness. So your nervous system responds much cleaner rather than going, hey, this is a threat, and it's not really a threat. You can navigate the situation more cleanly.
Can you just not think that this isn't a threat
Well, but
and
the
do
thing
something
is,
about it?
you're only tricking yourself. If your body has alerted you to something being a threat and it's not a genuine threat, you're only trying to talk yourself into something your body's going, yeah, I know you're saying that, but it really feels like a threat.
Yeah, so but you're overwriting it with your mind,
Yeah.
aren't you? And you're saying,
Absolutely. And so that stuff does work. Absolutely that works to a point. To a point though. It's like you can only override what your nervous system is telling you so much. I'm just talking about what if I didn't have to override it? It'd just be so much easier, wouldn't it?
um, yeah, I'm just wondering if it's indiscriminate though. You know, the nervous system can't discriminate between its real danger or its fake danger. To do that, you need to understand and recall different situations, previous experiences, the whole situation, what's happening. That's mindset. Surely you're thinking,
I
no,
see where you're coming from. Okay, well let me see if I can explain it more cleanly for you.
yeah,
So, yes, the nervous system goes threat, whether it's real or fake, right?
mm,
But it's what if those fake ones weren't there anymore? Because those fake ones are based on beliefs or programs that have been created earlier in your life. Like, for example, if you're a child and your parents are screaming at you, the child actually screaming at each other, sorry, the child can't actually recognize that it's the parents talking to each other. A young child actually thinks that the parents are yelling at them. So they take on whatever beliefs or programs from that moment of their early childhood,
mm,
and that carries them throughout life. And so if that the nervous system, when something gets triggered that's similar to that situation, then your body will go, oh, it's a threat, it's a threat. I'm saying those, if we can neutralize those safety things within the body, rather than there's an old way of doing it. If I just go back and process each and every moment where I had a stressful or traumatic situation, that won't happen. But that's a really long way of going about it. You could, like, I don't know about you, but I've had lots of moments in my life. If I had to do every single one, I'm going to be here forever.
mm,
But instead, if we go below all of those moments and go straight to the nervous system and look at the core survival issues, not the good survival states, like the nervous system needs to respond cleanly in a proper survival state. But if we get
mm.
rid of the beliefs and programs associated with them straight from the nervous system, rather than the old way of doing it, then I can respond more cleanly. Then I can rest when I need to rest. Then I can, navigate life without the hypervigilance.
So, okay. So if I'm in a board meeting and understand I've got a fragile male ego, and some another board member attacks something I've done or I haven't done, I'm likely, unless I can override it, likely to become inwardly defensive. Now, whether I become outwardly defensive or whether I click into a mindset that would say, well, this is just data. I'm going to embrace the feedback that I'm getting. but nevertheless, internally, I'm going to feel danger and feel defensive.
So that creates compartmentalizing as well.
Well, so what I've taught my mind to do is to treat that data in a different way. But the body does, I'm surely the body can't differentiate whether that's just somebody having a go at me or whether it's real danger. The body would, the nervous system would just say that's danger. I only know from my mindset that this is data I'm going to reclassify it as an opportunity to learn rather than my nervous system doing that. Have I got the wrong end of the stick here?
No, I totally agree with you. It's like if I mean, I guess it all depends on how the person's presenting it too. It's like, if they're presenting it in a healthy way or a non-healthy way or constructive or non-constructive. But it's also I can just sit there and observe. So if my nervous system is more neutralized, I don't get defensive. I can just sit there and observe and I can go, okay, I see what's going on here. Can see that person's saying that because they're actually feeling threatened. It's not really about me. I can sit there and have that clarity because my nervous system isn't going into a fight or flight state. I can sit there and I can have more clarity and go, okay, right. That part
Mm.
is about me and that part isn't about me. That's about the other person on the
Yeah.
spot. So then I don't have to go into that defensive state and I can go, no, that bit's about me. Oh, I didn't realize that. Cool. I'll do something about that at some, maybe not this second, but later on.
Yeah.
And
So
so
yeah.
that's what I'm referring to.
So that's about being a little more chilled and composed and calm
Well,
and
it's
not.
really about the nervous system not having that response because because once your nervous system kicks in, you that management of it is quite exhausting. That it takes you time to get back to, all right. So how do I manage that? Is that part me? Or I can just do it on the spot. I just find that's much.
So we're doing it with about emotional regulation. I know we're getting off the nobody knows how to rest anymore, but
We have, haven't we?
but I would put that in my category of regulating our emotions. So just managing them so that we don't react, so that we respond.
But I
Um,
think we also have to be careful. I think often in those situations, I feel one of the biggest issues is self-judgment and self-doubt. It's like I am concerned that maybe what's going on when someone I'm not saying this happens all the time. I'm just saying it does happen, is that when uh, a situation comes up, say that there's a meeting and someone's being really quite, confronting and aggressive or whatever, right? And, you know, rather than get defensive, it's like you're saying, calm down, don't do this. Often that can go into self-judgment, like there's something wrong with you. Don't behave in that way. It can become quite critical, self-critical. And
right.
while it's like, yes, outwardly you're displaying like the most cool, calm and collected person on the planet, what's going on inwardly? Because that's really what I would like people to look at.
And what's going on inwardly?
When are people judging themselves? Are they attacking themselves rather than attacking someone else?
Yes, but you said you'd like people to see what's going on inwardly. So I'm just wondering what is going on inwardly. There is it that they're judging themselves, or is there a side effect that that is bad that we should look at? Is there some sort of negativity involved? That's a question, really.
To me, yes, that's what I'm saying. Is like, yes, let's start asking those questions rather than just jumping to change that behavior. This behavior is not good. I've got to change it to this. It's like it's not that I don't disagree. I feel like there needs to be another step in there of if I behave like this, that's wrong. It's like that's really self-judgy. That's really self-deprecating. It's like, it's then we don't I feel like people are really self-critical rather than outwardly, because it's like we can't behave in this way. And yes, no, we can't. But it's now become you criticize yourself instead of other people. So I think we need to start becoming more witnessing what's going on within ourselves to make sure that we're not becoming too self-critical just because I can control my mind and outwardly I look like this. If we're not paying attention to any potential self-criticism that gets jumped thrown in those steps of managing myself,
Right.
I feel like that's a really necessary spot to look at.
Okay. All right. Don't disagree. So how are we going to put this will to rights in terms of enforcing rest time? Are we going to stop everyone wearing Fitbits? Are we going to um and all their variables? Are we going to enforce downtime on a Saturday and a Sunday? How are we going to do this?
Well, I think it's like I said, it's rather than moving down the same system and just throwing in new little performance measures or just tiny changes, it's we need to jump back and change the view, which is having a look at are you doing things because you want validation and to be rewarded? Are you like looking at the system of
Uh, I think it's a balance. I think people need to eat, and I think people therefore they need to work. If you don't work, you don't eat. So there's a huge element of that, isn't there? So, but I think what also there's a responsibility on individuals to achieve a balance and to get some downtime, because if they don't, then we are going to become burnt out, and then the ramifications of that are a lot deeper, a lot greater, a lot longer. So
why don't
somehow,
we just get people to write go for a week, write down all of the things that you do at certain times and actually just see it on paper, just how goddamn busy you are. And then once you can see it so clearly, then it's amazing. You go, wow, do I really need to do this thing? Where am I finding time to just be still? I think maybe if we just take that first step of looking at yourself and just for, a few days, maybe not a week, that might be a bit too much, but just for a few days, record all the things that you do and then go, is all of that necessary?
and what if it is?
I'm going to put money on it won't be, Paul.
Um, Busy people have busy lives. Busy people have homes to run, families to get out and about. I mean, you talked about
Are you honestly telling me that people cannot take out at least one or two of the things in their lives, looking at their phones? This, like, if you really listed, are you genuinely telling me that people cannot take out anything?
I am, well, not for myself. Our children are grown up now, so they're adults. But I observe lots of executives, male and female, who've got 2 kids, 3 kids. There's 2 parents who work, and they're on the go.
I get that. I totally get what you're saying. I'm not saying these are easy lives. I get that. But if these people wrote this down, I can would put money on that I could find a way to get them to 5, 10 minutes here, there, in a few different places to just be still. I know I could.
So 5 or 10 minutes, yes, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Just be still for a moment. Have a cup of tea without looking at your phone, without doing anything. Just be still.
Okay, that's good. That's a good way to finish. So if that's partially a solution, then that's a really good recommendation. It's a micro solution, isn't it? You've got
Yeah,
5 minutes, do this.
yeah. And then once you've got that and you find the value in that 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to find more time.
Mm.
Just start small. It's that Kaizen thing the Japanese do. It's that Kaizen method. And it's like, just if you're starting something new, just start with 5 minutes. Like we have the whole New Year's resolution. Oh, I'm going to do this thing. And then we go in it and we push hard and we try. And then we collapse because it's all too much and it's overwhelming. But if you just start with 5 minutes and then you can go to 7 minutes, then you can go to 10 minutes and then your body naturally, because what's happening is if you push and go into it, it's actually you're putting yourself into a survival state. And then when you're in a survival state, you go into fight and flight and you're like, oh, this is a threat. I can't do this. So just start small.
Yeah, good for the mind as well.
Great for the mind.
Okay, we solved the world.
All right. See you next time, Paul.
Cheers. Bye.